In order to do a deep dive on energy, I need to introduce one term. So those of us, everyone's familiar with miles per gallon on cars. And if you have a car, you want it to have a high miles per gallon, meaning it's efficient. So 50 miles per gallon is better than 25. When it comes to buildings, it's the exact opposite. And the term we use is not miles per gallon, but EUI, energy use intensity, and you want a lower number. So all of the explanations I'm going to give over the next few minutes rely on you appreciating a lower number is better. So back to bombshell number one. The most energy efficient buildings in Chicago are our oldest buildings from the 1880s. Behind me is a scale replica of one of the iconic buildings from Chicago's past from that era. It's the Monadnock building. It also happens to be where I have my office, so I know this building very well. When you think back to the 1880s, Chicago had just burned down. The fire had leveled the loop. And what were we all involved in? What were the architects and builders of the day doing? We were building a city for commerce. The loop was there, the L was coming, all the kind of thing. We needed intense use of land. Buildings needed to get taller, they had to be stable, but we're building a city for commerce, and we were very practical. In that day, energy was not abundant. Heating came in on coal carts under the streets. And so having an efficient building that didn't use much energy made all the sense in the world, and the Monadnock is a great poster child for that. So we're going to look at it from the outside and then from the inside. So if you're walking the streets of Chicago and you say, I'm not fancy, how do I know what buildings are doing better on energy? One clue when you look at the older buildings is how solid the walls are. The windows tend to be about 20 or 25% of the facade area. That's true for the Monadnock building. They also have thick walls that are heavy. Now, they don't necessarily have a lot of insulation, but in the case of the Monadnock and many older buildings, simply the masonry materials themselves provide a fair amount of insulation. So, fair amount of insulation, a little bit of glass, and then the third thing I want to show you behind me is this awning. It's called sun control or light control. So in the early Monadnock building, there was no air conditioning, and it could get pretty hot in the east-facing or west-facing windows unless you deployed a canvas awning like you see behind me. So in the morning on the east side, they would deploy the awning. In the afternoon, they'd pull it up and get the light. So that was early air conditioning, manually controlled by each tenant. And so that was a really clever insight from that era of how to adapt to climate in the 19th century.